Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the annual general meeting for the Council of the Town of Vesuvius, Monday, July 21st at 6:30 p.m. We're going to have a bit of a different process tonight. We have our directors here that are going to give short reports covering their operations throughout the year. And before I start, I'd like to mention that we now have web streaming. So as part of one of our goals and objectives, which actually comes later in the meeting, we are having this web streamed. So this is available besides Channel 18, which does a great job for us over the years. This will also be available on the Town of Vesuvius website. You'll be able to go into that website and see this basically live. It has a bonus, and that is indexed. So you will be able to actually go to the portion of the meeting that you want, and that'll be there and be available for you, and you won't have to sit through a 3-hour meeting. Although I know there's a lot of people in Vesuvius really like to sit through those 3-hour meetings and watch town council. This is actually the first annual report for this council. We did one last year, but of course those were years that were inherited from the previous council and basically the previous mayor. So this is our first report. We've really had a great year. It started out a little bit rocky. There was some conflict or allegations of conflict and that, but we worked our way through that, and the council team and the administration team got stronger as we went through the year. So on behalf of council and staff, I'm pleased to present the 2009 annual report. This report outlines the initiatives, accomplishments, activities, and goals for the past year. We have taken steps to serve our residents more effectively by reducing red tape and improving efficiencies by reviewing and revising some of our administrative and operational policies. We have remained focused on fiscal responsibility, environmental sustainability, infrastructure upgrades, and park improvements. Some of the key projects that we undertook in 2009 were Park Place. This was the stormwater treatment system and road reconstruction, including the installation of a new sidewalk with curb and gutter. The Airport Industrial Park infrastructure consisted of road construction and water and sewer service to each of the 7 new industrial lots. A qualified environmental consultant was on site to monitor and assist with the preservation and restoration of the antelope brush habitat during this construction. Work began on the process for our affordable housing strategy to develop policy guidelines as to the funding sources and identifying areas where more information was needed. This was based upon the strategy drafted by City Spaces, distinguishing the 4 housing needs groups within our community. The boat trailer parking lot on Main Street was completed, and I would like to note that all costs associated with this project were funded through the resort municipality tax. That's part of the 2% tax process paid by the accommodators in town. There was climate action planning. There was land acquisition. We purchased the Richter property. This will be the location for the new fire hall site. Upgrades were made to some of our parks, including Goodman Park, which was just a real banner when we actually dedicated that park a couple weeks back. But so there was Goodman Park, Lions Park, Kinsman Park, and new trail developments. On the plant side of it, we had the sewer aeration system and energy reduction program. We actually have some solar power generation for the sewage treatment aeration pumps. The sewer main lift station located at Legion Beach. This is basically the center of everything that happens in the wastewater for this town, and it got a new generator, and these are all very comforting issues for mayors and councilors out there. We always worry about what's going to happen with that main lift station. There was also upgrades to the SCADA system and the odor control, which had been a lingering problem in that area. We seem to have finally got the upper hand on it, and to me that's a great improvement. It cuts down on quite a number of phone calls that were coming in concerning that. We're in the process of a water conservation plan. This was developed by the town's engineer, True Consulting. A copy of the plan is available on the town's website and in our news section. The water supply was extended to the Desert Center and the landfill. That's going to enable us to do some composting up at the landfill and keep moving towards a greener and more sustainable Osoyoos. And it was a real bonus for the folks that work hard and volunteer up at the Osoyoos Desert Center. And internally, the implementation of the action tracking system really improves our accountability and transparency by capturing all requests in one central location. And that tracking system allows us to look up and find, if you have a complaint, we can find out the status of that complaint, who has it, where it's going, who's going to deal with it, who's going to respond to it. So it's a real bonus for the people in Osoyoos, but it really it helps us smooth out the situation and the conditions in the office when we can find out, you know, the classic is, well, where is that information, or who has it, and, well, I don't know. Well, now we know, and we actually know who has it, and we know what they're doing with it, and we know where it's going and where that ultimate answer is. So it's just a real great system internally. So as the mayor of the town of Osoyoos, it's really my great privilege to be associated with the council and staff who have worked so diligently to provide the utmost quality of services to our residents. We do try very hard. And I wish to recognize all the citizens of Osoyoos, individually or as part of an organization, that have contributed and volunteered their time, taken an interest in our town. It is through that enthusiasm and your enthusiasm and contributions and achievements that Osoyoos continues to be an amazing place to live, and it really is. I'm going to, the first director that's going to be give a part of the annual general report would be Mr. Zackel, the deputy CAO, and he's going to give the chief administrator's officer's report. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So basically, this report's for Barry Romanko, our CAO. He's away due to family situation, and he basically can say his year was best summarized by a year of orientation, relationship building, and read and react. This year was the first full year for Barry as a CAO for Osoyoos, has given him the opportunity to meet a number of resident stakeholders and within our community. These meetings have provided him with the education, the insights into the complex workings of the community, its relationship with their municipal government. Well, he would like to thank all the residents and stakeholders for sharing their perspectives and how best the municipal administration can respond to the needs of its citizens and visitors. These initial meetings were very important to developing a relationship that will enable him to work together with his community for future years. The past year was also Council's first full year of providing leadership to the administration, to the community. He began the year by implementing priorities identified from a strategic planning session with following general goals: increase the transparency of Council and administration operation, continue to deliver the cost-effective and efficient municipal services, redefine relationships with some linked stakeholders, continue to make advances on major projects, and explore opportunities to make our community more environmentally friendly. In achieving the goals, progress and success was defined in the following projects. Major efforts were placed in completing agreements for the Northwest Sector Sewer Project, which is now under construction. The Willow Beach and Reflection Point Sewer Servicing Agreements, which also assist with the funding of the Northwest Sector Sewer Project. New agreements were signed with CIREC for a short-term lease agreement for Desert Park, and new ones being negotiated at this time, and a new operating agreement for Destination Osoyoos. A lease agreement was developed enabling the establishment of the boat trailer parking on Main Street, and that has improved the safety and parking within our community, especially on Main Street down Hotel Row. Airport subdivision lots were developed and marketed, and as we've heard in the media, we've got 5 of those lots potentially sold. E-News was set up and established for all residents and businesses to receive immediate news on significant municipal operations. And anybody that wants to be part of E-News, please let us give us your email address and get it to us, and we'll add you to that list. It's a vital component to our community. Council has moved to a committee of the whole governance system that increases information sharing and improves council's decision making. Administration delivered a budget with only a 1.64% tax increase, and groundwork for the new communication policy was completed as well. And on behalf of Barrie, I'd just like to say thank you very much to the council and community who has a vital interest in their area.
Thank you, Mr. Zackel. The next director to make a presentation would be Corporate Services, Ms. Van Vienen, please.
Thank you. 2009 was a very busy year for services. The department made significant progress in new projects. With bylaws, the traffic bylaw was redrafted and adopted. New bylaw changed the requirement of parking, trailer or RV parking. It prohibits overnight parking of trailers attached to vehicles, provides the town with the ability to tow. It also gives the town authority to traffic-related arterial highways. After that bylaw was adopted, we're actively working on clearing up unsightly boulevards along the highways and have made significant progress in that regard. We've also drafted the Safe Premises Bylaw, formerly Substance Nuisance Bylaw, and was completed and came forward in Under land issues, we made good progress on the beach access encroachment issue. Staff will continue to work on the project until we're working on the riparian right now. Several other land issues, including a long-standing right-of-way, the golf course, art gallery league, Portuguese cultural, and an issue of property. We retendered and awarded the public washroom caretaker and bylaw enforcement contracts. Preparation on noise bylaw MTI dispute court hearing in January 2010 was taken in late 2009. A conflict of interest allegation was dealt with, as was the town's insurance claim regarding the water main break. We also responded to 6 freedom. Under emergency management, a permanent ESS director was sought in 2009. Nelson is role, and the town was successful in receiving a joint emergency program grant to half the cost of the generator emergency operations. Staff participated in the monthly H1N1 teleconferences provided through health. Under human resources, along with Councillor Chadsey, we made a first steps in mentorship program and discussions with secondary school. Water wastewater operator position was filled, and a few other positions filled as a requirement. Under bylaw enforcement, it was an extremely busy year with regards to citizens' concerns. A large amount of time was spent on noise, traffic, spotting, and dogs. What stood out most amongst all of these were the number of issues that came up in the parks. We got a lot of assistance from the RCMP in that regard, and had a lot of people occur issues in parks. We did prepare a survey to find out what the agriculture working visitors were facing. We did get some information in that regard, and that they are not, they would like to pay for camping with at anomalous. Under other things, we did do the 2008 annual report. We assisted with the planning for the SILGA conference. The action tracking system was developed and given to all staff. Filing was formatted. Development.
Thank you. Also a very, very busy department. The next presentation will be Mr. Alan Cunningham from our Planning and Development Services. Mr. Cunningham, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Planning and Development Services worked very productively in 2009. We used the slowdown in development applications compared with the fast pace of previous years as an opportunity to catch up on a number of major policy projects. The recently adopted regional growth strategy is a major success story for the town of South Okanagan. Town council and staff played a leading role in advocating much needed growth management improvements which found their way into the document. These improved policies will help focus regional growth in suitable locations, avoid urban sprawl, and protect the natural environment. Staff completed the Southeast Meadowlark Area Plan in-house. The plan proposes that over a half of the total 40-acre area be opened up for an estimated 270 medium density homes over the next 10 years. About 40 of these will be affordable units. A site has also been set aside for a new town fire hall. The plan was adopted this year as scheduled to our OCP after receiving positive feedback from 50 or so local residents of the public house. The plan has gone forward with an ALR exclusion application to the Agricultural Land Commission. SUYU's affordable housing strategy, drafted by City Spaces Consulting Limited with assistance from a citizen advisory task force. This strategy includes a broad range of recommendations for meeting the needs of 4 groups: A, moderate-income working households; B, short-stay workers; C, low-income special needs households; and D, elderly seniors on fixed incomes. 2 projects were implemented from the Osiris Waterfront Master Plan: the Gyro Beach Retaining Wall and the Gyro Park Place Pathway. Council has reestablished the Waterfront Steering Committee to assist them move forward other capital projects from the plan, including planning for a joint venture marina in Lions Park Lagoon and local road and pathway improvements. 2 of our business bylaws received significant improvements in 2009. The business license bylaw was amended to permit and regulate designated street vendor sites in private lands and municipal parks, as well as the operation of mobile street vendors. Amendments to our intercommunity business license bylaw now limit town involvement in the mobile business license scheme to the Okanagan's of Milkavine. Our land use procedures LUP bylaw was expanded by adding processes for negotiating density bonuses, phase development agreements with developers, and the financial compensation package in our provision for residential tenant protection from redevelopment further strengthened. Considerable research started last year on 2 major bylaw initiatives. First, to replace our current boat regulations with a best practice approach to water zoning. Second, to develop a new best practice sign bylaw with provisions for allowable signs without a permit, allowable signs only with a permit, and prohibited signs. A new modernized building bylaw was adopted in 2009. This bylaw provides clear definitions, clear distinctions on roles and responsibilities, requirements for retaining walls and stormwater control, reinstatement of occupancy permits, and an updated fee schedule. In addition to our policy work, planning and development staff spent considerable time and research on development applications for some major projects, including a 109 townhouse development at the old gravel pit off Braeburn Place, a complex commercial residential development proposal for 237 residential units, a 5-story medical building near Preenet Pond, and an ALR exclusion application and preliminary area plan for the Wish property, 4927 Main. Staff also processed 3 OCP and/or zoning amendments, 6 development permits, and 3 subdivision approvals. We issued 66 building permits in 2009 for a total construction value of $8.3 million. Although this was a substantial reduction from previous years, staff put in considerable time performing inspections and implementation follow-up previously approved building permits for the major developments of Watermark and Cactus Ridge. Lastly, Planning and Development Services issued 531 business licenses in 2009, generating revenue of over $45,000. In ending, I would like to thank my fellow staff members, Lisa Wenzel, Steve Shannon, Neil Padgett, and Phil Armstrong for the contributions they all made to a very productive meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. The next director will be Operational Services. We probably know this better as Public Works. Mr. Ron Doucette, please. Oh, and just I should mention also that at the end of this, there is a question period. So if anyone has any questions from any of these directors or departments or through council, council will attempt to answer them. The directors will be able to answer them. Mr. Doucette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next year, I'd like to go first because the mayor took all my good stuff this year. Public Works, our operational services, continued in their upgrading and maintaining of the town's infrastructure. Some of these improvements include, with respects to roads, as part of our road improvement program, it was 72nd Avenue from Main Street to 85th, where we added a new storm drain, well, a storm sewer system, and overlaid the whole street. We also overlaid Harbor Key west of Cottonwood and paved Crabapple Court, which sort of completes the Lacey Point area. We did Park Place. Something that I like to just point out at Park Place is the storm system is actually was designed to catch also and treat the storm sewer from Main Street. This treatment includes filters and oil interceptors, which you can imagine how important that is for our lake. So that was a big plus in that design. With regards to the sewer system, once again, Mr. Mayor pointed out our generators, but this is extremely important, obviously in a power outage. The two main ones, obviously, is the main lift stations, which takes care of about 95% of our sewer that goes up to lagoons. We added a larger generator to handle one of our newer 185 horsepower pumps. And the other is next to the Holiday Inn. That lift station probably takes 95% of the entire east side and about 100% of all of Motel Row. You can imagine on an August-long weekend, if the power goes out, that lift station wouldn't last very long. So this is just a big, it makes my guys sort of be able to sleep at night a lot easier. Mr. Mayor mentioned about the odor control. Finally, we found something, touch wood, that is working. And we also added a new trunk sewer from the Spanish Fiesta to the Holiday Inn to maximize flows and minimize infiltration. On the water side, the irrigation system was extended to the landfill, and we also provided the Desert Center with a service as well. The main reason for the landfill is basically for composting purposes. Well 3, we had a new pump and a new control system. This makes that pump more efficient, versatile, and produces more flow. Although this year, there's going to be a problem with all the rain. The irrigation system, Pump Station 9, also received a new pump, and we had a big leak in the main intake, and that was also repaired. The airport was talked about, the boat trailer was talked about. We purchased a couple of, a 2-ton truck this year, a Kubota tractor, and a bunch of new playground equipment that we're hoping to install probably this fall. This is part of a 3-phase system. Staffing, we always try to improve on the training. We have now 3 water operators that received their water distribution certification. And last year, after almost 29 years, Mr. Jack Hagel, one of our equipment operators, retired. With this retirement, obviously that created a domino effect. We promoted Mr. Mark Polera from utility to water operator, or to equipment operator. Mr. Wild Nems from laborer to utility operator, and Mr. Derek Ruck has joined our team as a laborer from the recreation department. And Mr. Dave Steen also was promoted from laborer to water operator. At this time, I would publicly like to thank Mike Thomas, Brianne Hilson, and the entire Public Works team for their dedication and commitment to this organization. And I'm very proud of them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Doucette. Again, there was a lot of information there, and yeah, I'm sorry I took all the key ones there. Next, I'd like to hear from Gerald Davies from Recreation and Leisure Services. Mr. Davies.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, Council. The Department of Recreation and Leisure Services focused their attention on improving our parks and trails in 2009. Landscaping and site furniture, as Mr. Mayor had previously stated, were installed on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and Bayview Crescent in east of Soyuz. This area was developed as a new park, and a formal dedication took place this past year, naming it Goodman Park. We had a great turnout for this event, as some of the Osoyoos' pioneers shared a part of history with all in attendance. The installation of a refrigerated water fountain will complete the park. An expression of interest went out in the third quarter for proposals on the best use of the Desert Park facility. Council selected the proposal put forth by CIREC and signed a short-term lease. And we are still looking at how to best operate the squash courts at Desert Park, whether to relocate them to the Sonora Community Center or to leave them there. Grant funding was obtained through the National Trails Coalition to help offset the costs associated with the extension of the irrigation canal walkway. 1.5 kilometers of new trail were developed, and resurfacing of 12 kilometers of existing trail was completed this spring by Yardworks Landscaping. Work continued with potential investors who wanted to bring a KIJHL Junior B team to Osoyoos. An agreement was signed in November of 2009, and the Osoyoos Coyotes were ready to prepare for this season. I'm sure there will be a lot of support when they start in September. Planning for the Olympic Torch Relay event began with assistance from federal and provincial grant funding. We had an incredible turnout for the event, and it was an amazing show. We wish to thank Tony Batista, who we could not have had picked a more suitable person to carry the flame onto the stage in the Soyuz. He embodied the town's pride and excitement as he stole the show on January 24th. An amendment to the Joint Parks and Recreation Commission bylaw was adopted by Council and the Regional District, putting more emphasis on green spaces such as parks and trails, which was evident this past year. And our summer playground program was successfully initiated as a full-day program rather than just a half-day program as it has been for the last 20-plus years. We replaced the Sun Bowl Arena condenser and completed other annual capital maintenance projects. We received approximately $28,000 in funding from Western Economic Diversification Canada to completely renovate the tennis courts, and $12,000 from the Community Health Promotion Grant from UBCM, which included funding for a wellness guide, a health fair, and a lecture series. This past year, we contracted the services of D.W. McMullen and Associates as part of the town's occupational health and safety program. We also signed up for a poster program through Skillbum Publications, which promotes health and safety in the workplace. We too also had some changes with our staff. When Mr. Ruck left for operational services, we promoted Mike Kostenuk from part-time to full-time recreation facilities attendant and hired John Laura and Nathan Dewar as part-time attendants. I'd also like to thank our staff at the Recreation and also the numerous volunteers who come forward to help us run our programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davies. Hearing from our financial sector next, Mr. Zackel.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Wells. Financial Services, Finance Department's responsibilities and authority comes from legislation mandated by the Community Charter, provincial and federal statutes and bylaws. Our department's main goals have always been to provide an excellent financial services to our citizens of Osoyoos Town Council, staff, visitors, and external agencies. We try to provide sound, timely financial advice to council and to administration to assist in making the best decisions possible on behalf of citizens and to safeguard the assets of the town of Osoyoos. Our main functions of the finance department are to prepare and monitoring of the 5-year financial plan and annual financial statement, preparing and interpreting the interim financial statements, levying and collecting municipal taxes and utility fees, which I'd like to reiterate that taxes are due July 2nd. Please don't forget to come in to pay and claim your homeowner grant. Processing accounts payable, receivables, and payroll, maintaining and updating cemetery records, developing and maintaining financial systems, borrowing and investing surplus and reserve funds. And we do have a copy of our 2009 audited financial statements available. They are contained within the 2009 annual report and available online within the town of Osoyoos. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Zackel. The next report will be from the Fire Chief, Mr. Rick Jones, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just start right on with this. It's the town of Osoyoos. We operate a volunteer fire department which consists of 30 on-call firefighters. In 2009, we responded to 195 calls. 145 which were for the town and 50 for the rural area A. The majority of the calls received for within the town were alarm activations, while rural area A were burning complaints. The breakdown call type is available on in the annual report. The town contracts protection services to the Rural Fire Protection District for rural fire area and to the Osayas Indian Band's lands adjacent to the town boundary. The planning for the new fire hall, which is to be located on the Richter property, which was purchased in 2009. We're working closely with the planning department and council to develop the area best suits everyone's needs. We finally took possession of our water tanker truck, which had been ordered in 2008 after long about problems with getting it. So we have it now, and everything's good. Our mutual aid agreement is still in place with the neighboring fire departments to assist us should additional resources be needed, and vice versa should they require our assistance, as which just happened this year in Oliver with the Mesa Hotel fire. We continue to host our annual fundraisers, the Oyster Feed and Easter weekend haircuts, which were both successes. Our members and their families volunteer a lot of their time to organize these events to ensure that they ran smoothly as possible. At the end of the day, it was all about raising money for different hospitals and charities who take care of the residents in our community. In 2009, those funds raised were donated to the Children's Burn Unit at Vancouver General Hospital and used towards a purchase of new lab equipment to the Oliver Regional Hospital, and donated to the Relay for Life to help find a cure for cancer, hopefully. We wish to thank everyone who came out to support our events, our efforts at these events. And I'd also like to thank all my staff, all the volunteer firefighters and their families for being patient for having such a busy year. Thank you.
Thank you, Fire Chief Jones, and thank your crew for the good service they provide to the residents of both the town of Vesuvius and rural area A. That basically wraps up the report from the directors. There's a bit of a closing note here for our objectives and measures. A lot of it has already been said, so I'm just going to try to maybe flush out about 3 or 4 that I don't think were mentioned. And this was this council's full year of providing leadership to the administration and the community. We began the year implementing the priorities identified from a strategic planning session that had the following general goals: to increase the transparency, to deliver cost-effective and efficient municipal service, redefining relationships with some of the stakeholders, and to explore opportunities to make our community more environmentally friendly. This water conservation plan was developed by True Consulting, and that's going to lead to a lot bigger plan, and probably get into metering, and certainly we would want to be looking at twinning in the rural areas up there. That's very important. We did do some changes with the Destination Osuyas, and there was an economic development was brought back into the town of Vesuvius. It had previously been done under contract with Destination Osuyas, and to that end, we have hired a community development manager, and this is going to put a new face, hopefully downtown. I know council wants this downtown on Main Street, looking at some downtown revitalization and an economic kickstart to our downtown area. And I believe that individual is starting in the 1st of September of this year. And we're continuing to build on our relationship with Interior Health. It's really important that we have a strong relationship with those folks. You know, we're always talking about a small clinic and the number of people that we have here in the summertime, so it's important that we keep working with Interior Health for the town. We've set up e-news again as part of our transparency, where you can subscribe to that and sign up and get those e-news sent to you. And I believe the last I heard there was over 200 people had asked to be a part of that program. Again, on the budget, we came in with a 1.64% tax increase, which I think is really good and shows that we have a strong administrative team here. And we're looking at a new communication and extraterritorial policies. We keep getting requests to go out of the town boundaries, and we did with that Northwest Sewer project, and I think that brought to light quite a few different issues that we hadn't really foreseen. It's fine, it's done. The job is over half completed, so it's well underway. But I think when we start looking at what we're going to provide outside the town, it has to be developed from policy, and that's what we're looking at right now. So there's a lot on our plate and a lot that we're looking at. Again, I feel very privileged to be working with this council and this administration team and providing good governance to the town of Vesuvius. So at this time, I'm going to open the floor to any questions from the public. And again, we would, to be a part of the process, we would be looking at names and addresses. So if there's any questions from the public, please stand up, state your name, and we will attempt to answer them. Do I see Mr. Maselli? Oh, and I'd just like to say an annual general meeting wouldn't be an annual general meeting for the town of Vesuvius without Mr. Maselli here. So, Cy, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cy Maselli. My street address, 8301 Queens Lane. Oops, privacy is gone.
Thank you.
What a year was 2009. I don't know how to start. I know, Mr. Mayor and councilors, politics, it's a blood sport. Sometimes it's a filth, sometimes it's dirty. But 2009, it was filthy. I say it was filthy by concerned, so-called CCOO, Concerned Citizen of Vesuvius. They did, for the record, Mr. Mayor, I did vote last election for their candidate, Mr. Ike Scheffler. Indeed, from this council, without prejudice, I vote for Councilor Ryan, Michael Ryan, and CJ. Having said that, as I was involved since 1993 and officially 1996 as a self-appointed city council watchdog, it hurt me when they tried to pull dirty, I say it was filthy. I'm speaking about, Mr. Mayor, they accused you being in conflict. It was wrong. They were wrong. You were right. That's why I did defend you. The reason, the first attempt was February 20th, 2009. By February 18th, so-called in-camera information supposed to go, I received copy from CCOO. There. When I speak about CCOO, Concerned Citizen of Vesuvius, it's only 4. Gang of 4, and they want a gang of 5, which was me. I was contacted on February 19th, actually, earlier I dealt with Robert. That's Robert, Gene, Ray, and Trevor. There are 4 of them who is involved. In my opinion, with evidence and facts, they owe you an apology. They owe most important to the people who made it, who signed that, what's called petition. They were misled and without facts. On February 19th, that was a Thursday morning, I got some notes here. I got phone call from Jean. I was not available. There was a message left, and I quote, she told me, we have some dirt on Stu Wells. We need your help. And she invited me to their place. All the community, all the rest of the people went there, and they were misled. Honestly, I thought something was maybe financial statements was not done and so on. I went 2:30, and I had the information, and I told them it's wrong. But in meanwhile, before that, Mr. Mayor and Councilor, their election 2008 did not finish in November 20th. They started. Actually, indeed, they started with a campaign, dirty campaign, in September, before September even. I was approached by Robert. I had lots of meetings, phone conversations, and they wanted, that's why I said to myself to become gang of number 5. I told them, no way, you guys are wrong, back off. The thing is, I hope never happens. The reason tonight I am standing here, it's without any prejudice that I do care for our community. We will disagree, Mr. Mayor and councilors. We should disagree. When we have that's our rights, but we have to let it go. But the thing is, when they are trying to play dirty and filthy without truth and fact, no way. That's why they want to be part of it. And basically, their aim was, according to Robert, what I had my conversation, and phone and visiting and giving the what's called all the facts here, that they wanted to force you to resign. And I mean, particularly that was, as it was reported, he had a grudge, I was told by Robert, against you and Mr. Mike Mortimer. Oh, I said, keep it that private, but this is not council meeting, council deal. You guys lost the election, we lost the election, I said, because I voted for them, for their candidate. Second thing was...
Mr. Maselli,
yeah.
This is sort of a question period, and I really appreciate what you're saying, but I don't know how relevant it is to the question and answer and the operation of the town. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Maselli. I'm liking your comments.
Because you said, Mr. Mayor, when your opening, it was a conflict of interest. Everybody knows in this community and outside of community. That's why I thought. And the thing was, the reason I did not join them, it was they did accuse you under section 100, 101, 2, and 3. I did point it to Robert and as well them. They deliberately and they misled the people who signed the petition. They are good people in this community. They worked hard, and they were misled. That's why I'm defending them too. They owe to them apology. They owe to our community apology. Because, Mr. Mayor and councilors, I did defend because of section, it says, exceptions from conflict restrictions. 101, section 104, subsection 1, it says, sections 100 to 103 do not apply if one or more of the following circumstances applies. Under A, the pecuniary interest of the council member is a pecuniary. Number 2, interest in common with electors of the municipality generally. That was the one. As well, this one is under B, in the case of matter that relates to the local services. The pecuniary interest of the council member is in common with others. So that's why you were not in conflict of interest, and that's what the law says.
Thank you, Mr. Maselli.
Yeah, thanks.
Can we
Now,
finally bury that?
yeah.
And Mr. Maselli, thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor and Councilor, 1 year I had to I gave a letter to editors, they would not publish it. So that's why I'm here tonight.
Okay.
Now, if anybody else, anything else, because I was going to go through the town agendas. And if anybody has I can come back.
Does anybody have a question related a little more directly to the annual general meeting and the reports we receive from our directors and our financial wherewithals? If there's any questions there from the public, we would entertain those questions. Okay, Mr. Maselli, with the time limit, please.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I waited 1 year. And Councilor, 364 days. Number 3 from the Town of Osoyo's consolidation statement of operations. Page number 3. We received Town of Osoyo's revenue $13,437,139. And according to the statements that we spent, $8,997,172. Actually, I went through the AP 507, which is the Town of Osoyo's year-to-date paid report. We spent $15,668,222.46. So basically, we are over $2.3 million in hole. Okay, number 2. On page it's on page number 9 under the expenses, $3,070,335 other expenditures. There is no itemized. We don't know what are they. Now the question is, there is a True Consulting. Town is employing engineering firm from Kamloops. We paid last year $516,830.23. Maybe there is that amount. I don't see it on the other books. Then, Mr. Mayor and councilors, page number 31 is missing from annual, nice, those glossy ones. Mr. Zakal gave me this one. That's consolidated, the schedule of consolidated expenses by object. No, sorry, no, page number 31. Schedule of receipts and disbursements of federal gas tax. That's missing. Federal gas and tax agreement funds and so on. You don't have it there on because I have the original. And this one I got it May 18. On page 17, under the commitment, no, actually under the pension liability, municipal pension plan, it says last sentence, actually 2 of them. The Corporation of Town of Osoyoos paid $161,124.73 for employer contributors to the plan in fiscal 2009. But in a year-to-date report, AP 5070, it says that municipal pension plan was paid, we gave them a check, for $308,212.48. So the discrepancy What happened to the other 147,000? I mean, I'm saying which department went. I'm not saying, for the record, Mr. Mayor, I'm not accusing anyone for anything wrongdoing. So
But you're
that's,
looking for some answers.
yeah,
Mr. Zackel, can we
Yeah,
try to
sure.
get a few
Yeah,
answers in
please.
here? And I want to see what we can do
Yeah.
about the questions and where this is going. Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Maselli, definitely, you're more than welcome to come into the office, and I can explain this in detail to you of where you're seeing those discrepancies, and I'll try to answer some of them right now,
Yeah.
but I think some of them you need to come into the office, and we can sit down and I can show you how that flow of dollars actually happens. Starting on page number 3 of the statement of consolidated statement of
Yeah.
operations, the biggest change to our financial statements, and unfortunately we don't have our auditors here at the annual general meeting. We had them when they presented the financial statements back earlier, is the capital expenditures are no longer shown in the statement of consolidated operations. They're removed from that, and they're now located within the tangible capital assets of the community. Well, those are expenditures that you pay out of the community, that you pay towards that. So when you're looking at the year-to-date supplier paid totals, not only do you have the capital expenditure items in there, but you've also got items that were paid in 2009 that were expensed in 2008 as well. There's a lot of January 2009 year-to-date payments in that report that are actually 2008 expenditures. And likewise, you'll see in 2010, January and February, where a lot of those payments to suppliers relate to a 2009 expenditure. But I'm more than happy to sit down with you to go through that, to show you where that breakdown is. And it will take some time, because it's a lot of numbers. But I'm more than willing to sit down with you to talk about that.
Yeah.
So that's the explanation for page number 3.
on under page,
Number
again,
9.
17,
Okay, page number 7 you?
17.
Oh, 17.
Yeah, that's a new one, because usually, like last year, we had commitment with a destination also use 226,000 something. Used to be, but it's not here.
Yes.
Now, and the second thing is, just for the public record, because we pay them according to year-to-date page, the one I'm reading from, AP 565070, that was given to destination also use 283,158.50. Now, Mr. Mayor and Councillor, same under the income expenditure statements, there is a transfer to destination also use for 2% hotel tax, then as well of $282,019.88, plus there is a resort municipal transfer, $293,222.02. Total was $801,742. I'm saying this maybe should be there, maybe I'm wrong. I am open for criticism. The thing is, if we are receiving from government, from provincial government, from provincial government that money, we are reporting as income, why not report as expense? Because town of Osoyoos is legally signing the checks to destination Osoyoos.
And Mr. Marcelli, it does show on our financial records as the income and expenditure, the transfer in and the transfer out. The destination Osoyoos for 2009 was responsible for the operation and management of the 2% hotel tax and for the resort municipality funding. So they were to provide all of the accounting, all of the detailed reporting to the province for the expenditures, What we needed to ensure within our financial statements was the true money that was received and the true money that was paid to them, so that we could account for what flowed from the town to Destination Osulias. And that's what we've done. And there again, if you feel that there's a discrepancy, I am more than happy to sit down with you to go over it.
Mr. Mayor and Councillor, through Mr. Zakal, for the record, you are right. It's in town books. Those one, I'm reading it from town ledger. Nothing is. The reason my question is, I brought it up, is why this amount is not annual general meeting report or financial statements as a grant. That's my question. So.
Okay. Okay. And I think that's a fair question.
Yeah.
That money is not shown there as Destination Osulias money. Is that?
No, it's actually two funding projects that we've got, and Mr. Marcelli's comments are valid.
Okay.
And I think that's something that we can definitely include into next year's annual report for.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, now back to Planning Department. If anybody else has something, I will be quiet for a few minutes.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Does the audience have any other questions of the directors? Hearing none. Again, back to you, Mr. Maselli. We're trying to be time sensitive here, but you waited a year, so.
I was going to say that. Without prejudice, as I said last year as well, I can say this year, I'm not talking about personalities. I'm not talking about character of our employees. I'm proud of them, all of you, from bottom till the top and vice versa. But as a committee, I did commit myself to look after, to ask questions, to get answers. Last year, I said it, nothing changed. Planning department, we are about 155 municipalities. In my opinion, with the facts and evidence, we have 3 planners, basically, planning director, planning assistant, and technician. Now, as the document says, there is not much done. So, is it right that why are we not cutting back a little bit on expenses? Economy is down quite a bit. So that's why, again, that's my concern, because seemingly, like I mentioned 364 days a year, for 222 years, employees are paid, for instance, but there is no planning for 200 plus days in our town. And the last one, Mr. Mayor and councillors, as I mentioned, True Consulting, I'm questioning is the amount what we are paying, $516,830.23. Plus, we are paying, according to this year-to-date report, other engineering companies, contractors. Is it, why, Mr. Mayor, you as a councillor, hire professional civil engineer with a planning that will look in the long run for our assets, town, and will be cheaper, better, and most important, less money. Because now, $500,000, last year was about 480, it's a lot of money. Again, I'm not questioning their knowledge either, I'm questioning the money. Because we have to cut the spending. My old man always used to say, you can stretch your feet as far as the blanket is not long. If it's over the blanket, you freeze. So we are freezing now, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Mayor and Councilor, thank you very much. And if you have any other question, I'll say thank you and
Thank
Carry
you,
on.
thank you, Mr. Maselli. And I think
And-
you've
yeah.
left us with good questions that I think I've heard asked at tables, at a council table, and those are good questions. And I think we need those answers. And again, thank you very much. And if you need some answers on any of those numbers through Mr. Zacco, please feel free. So thanks for your
And
input at the
Mr. Mayor,
AGM.
just be short, I forgot. As I'm involved since '96, I do care for this community, for my town, for our town. I've been paying lately 50 cents per agenda. And to be honest, it's not fair. I'm asking, I had a few times through CAOs and Mr. Zacco, I got same answer because by law, that was about town, what's called information.
bylaw,
Yeah,
yes.
procedural. Now, I am willingly, as I said on my letter, by choice, computer illiterate. I will not, please, Mr. Mayor, Councilor, don't tell me you got agendas on the website and others. As I'm going to continue to look after taxpayers of this town, when it is something I would appreciate if I am provided with a full agenda, free of charge.
Okay.
And I would like to hear each councillor and you, Mr. Mayor, opinion. And thanks, and I'm going to sit down.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Maselli. Thank you very much. Is there any further questions at the annual general meeting, Town of Vesuvius? I don't believe so. Hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. About a 3 to 5 minute recess before we open